Hello, everyone, and welcome to the All Four Downs podcast, the Three Downs and Three Counts production. Yes, sir, we are back. I should say I'm back, and I hope you guys are with me because I do have a controversial top 25. And I know, you know, I love enjoying reading your comments and stuff, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube channel, but I really love your support and your debates when it comes to the top 25. I am approximately 35 minutes away from knowing the AP polls top 25, but I'm not worried about that because at the end, I was right. And I'm going to tell you why I am still right because I just feel like the AP have these teams overrated. And it's about time that we give credit to those that are doing what they're supposed to be doing in the football field. The discipline, the everyday thing. Even the coaches are preparing their teams for the right stuff. And let's just get right to it because I could go on and on and on, but I'll save all that for Tuesday night when we go live on All Four Downs podcast, reviewing not only the differences of the top 25, but the upcoming games that week 6 has. So here's my week 6 rankings coming up, and we'll start with 21 through 25. Yes, sir. Here we go. I got Memphis, Virginia, Louisville, BYU, and LSU. Listen, no one's talking about the American Conference. No, the American Conference got no good deeds or anything like that, right? But yet Memphis are blowing their opponents out 55-26 over Florida Atlantic. Hey, it is what it is. They're playing their schedule. They're playing their games. Ain't no different than maybe Big Ten Penn State. All right. They're playing and they're winning big. So let's give some credit to Memphis, shall we? Virginia upsets Florida State 46-38 in overtime. That's a big win for that school. Give them credit. Get them in the top 25. Louisville 34-27 over Pittsburgh. That's an ACC matchup over there. And then BYU gets by Colorado in the Big 12. I see LSU ranked 25. Listen, if you're going to come at me and say, oh, well, LSU should be in the top 10 still after their performance, not only on Saturday, but every week, okay? They look weaker and weaker every week. And yeah, we're supposed to tell their state your quarterback's a Heisman candidate. No, 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 no. Listen, LSU needs a lot of help. Okay, they need to turn things around, and it starts with their head coach. But I'm gonna vent that later. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to 16-20. I got Indiana, Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, Iowa State, and Penn State. Okay, Indiana. You got by Iowa, but I have to respect the head coach of Indiana because even though he was he made some comments about, I don't know, and paraphrasing, he's not sure whether or not to have a victory or not about the way Indiana was playing. It wasn't to his standard yet. Indiana won. Respect that. I really do. And I do foresee Indiana making it back to the playoffs. Notre Dame, maybe top 25 games back to back. They lost 0-2, questioning whether or not they deserve to still be in the top 25. I didn't. But after watching how they defeated Arkansas 56-13, you come kind of, I gotta say, an SEC team. But then again, did I overrate them? Knowing that I put them at 17. Um, can we validate Arkansas, which they lost 3 in a row, and one of those losses was against Memphis? So that's why Memphis is in my top 25. Notre Dame's in my top 25. I don't know. I'm testing the waters here. Georgia Tech 30-29 over Wake Forest. ACC matchup, big game. That was a wonderful game. Wake Forest had a chance to win, but at the end, Georgia Tech squeezed it out. And as their head coach was saying, they need, they need to practice some more on their offense and defense. They made some mistakes, but they survived. Iowa State leading the Big 12, beating Arizona 39-14. And Penn State ranked number 20, losing to Oregon in overtime 30-24. I've been telling since day one, starting this new season, that Penn State at number 2 was overrated. They do not deserve to be number 2. I don't care if the veterans came back when It's the way the system goes, okay? When it comes to big games, Penn State does not prevail. And I'm not talking about the playoffs, because if we go back to the regular ways before we expanded this playoff picture, okay? Before we expanded the Big 10, Penn State cannot beat Ohio State and Michigan. I said it all along. You bring Oregon into the picture. Oregon plays a big game when it comes to the regular season, and they blew the lead. All right. But Oregon still survived. Their defense won it to beat Penn State. Penn State's in trouble. Okay. And I'm telling you, they could win and play all the other games, and the AP and the coaches part are going to push them to convince the college football committee to push them over there to make it to the playoffs. It's going to be a big mistake. Just saying. Moving on to 11 to 15, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Georgia, Florida State, Texas Tech. Yes, Georgia did beat Tennessee. Yes, they did. However, let's talk about this, right? It's just like a regular standing on any given sport. It's not over yet, but I have to question Georgia's Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart likes to be on interviews and everything, always lecturing. But you made the biggest mistake, Kirby Smart, because you had a chance to tie the game. You went for it and fourth down. The momentum, it was even, and you took a chance on fourth down and won. Analyst has nothing to do with this, man. You got to go with your gut. And the gut was tied the game. You had Alabama in the fences, and every time you blew the fourth down, okay, Alabama came back. And it's always something about the rivalry between Georgia and Alabama that Kirby Smart cannot overcome this. He only has one win over Alabama, and that win was the national championship. Other than that, it's like Kirby Smart, I don't know if his ego kicks in or what. I don't know. But if you got the points and you didn't make it, you got to tie the game, especially if it's in the fourth quarter. It's just mind blowing, man. Mind blowing. Okay. Other than that, listen, Tennessee got by on overtime. Even that game was a little suspect for Tennessee because Mississippi State should have won that game. All right. They play a good game, a solid game, and there was a lot of mistakes, even on both sides of the ball. But Tennessee prevailed. Vanderbilt looking strong, but now they will begin their SEC competition, and they will start against Alabama. All right, Florida State losing to Virginia. That was a big upset, 46-38 in overtime. And Texas Tech had a bye week. Moving on to 6 to 10, Miami, Texas, Missouri, Texas A&M, and Michigan. Miami had a bye, but Miami's getting set to go ahead and take on Florida State, the battle of the Floridians, as I call it. And is Florida State ready? Is Carson Beck ready for Miami? That is the great question there. And can Florida State survive if they lose back to back? Or can they overcome? And what will happen if Miami loses? There's a lot going on. And with Carson Beck probably leading the way in the Heisman race, they got to come strong. Texas begins their SEC matchup. Texas A&M over Auburn, 16 to 10. A big defensive game. You love defense? That was the game to watch. And Michigan will have their head coach back in the upcoming week. Now, here's my top 5, and it could be very controversial. I know. I'm not hating. I'm just telling you how I see the game. I got Ole Miss at number 1. Oregon, Ohio State, Alabama, and Oklahoma. If Texas, the University of Texas, was able to just beat out a lot of teams, then I will give credit to Ohio State at number 1. If you thought that because Washington was undefeated, let me tell you that Washington wasn't even ranked. And it was predictable that Ohio State was going to win big. Okay. You look at the point spread. I think it was at 6+ for Oklahoma or 8. It doesn't matter. Ohio State was going to cover it regardless. Okay. Alabama had a good win against Georgia, but I'm scratching my head a little bit because did they celebrate too much? Because Vanderbilt, you better not take them lightly. Vanderbilt could be on an upset alert for this upcoming weekend for that matchup. Oklahoma comes back after their bye. Oregon got a big win over Penn State, but Ole Miss was my favorite because they defeated LSU. And I am so happy because more pressure goes on to LSU and that whole entire team. They're coming in thinking that, oh yeah, we're gonna be the next national champions. But the only team that was very disciplined, that followed through on both sides of the ball, was Ole Miss. Ole Miss looked like a complete team. I do like Ole Miss. I do like Oklahoma. I like that a lot. And I do like Oregon. They fight, fight, fight. But as you can tell, if there's any team that's very, very deserving, prepared, disciplined, it's no other than Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. And yeah, Lane Kiffin, which I remember, man, like, I don't know, is one of those coaches that you can't trust, right? But he is phenomenal. And the way he got this team, they doubt a lot of people are down Ole Miss. I don't understand why. And I know they lost a lot of players to the NFL. Jackson Dart's one of them who's going to start for the New York Giants this weekend. But Ole Miss didn't miss a beat. And they're always in contentions. And yeah, I know we're getting deeper into the schedule now in the SEC, but you better watch out for Ole Miss. For Oregon, they might finish strong at the end, but when it comes to the playoffs, Oregon finds a way to lose their momentum. Ohio State, number 3, I give credit. Don't get me wrong. I know they're going to be number 1, but let's give it to someone that's very deserving with the strength of schedule, their performance, and everything else. You got it. Hats off to Ole Miss this week. And that wraps up my top 25. Tune in Tuesday as not only cover the updates and the news around the college football, but also the prediction. I was a little suspect this week. It snatched my 14 games in a row, making my picks. Went from 4-0 to 2-6, but that's okay because I will bounce back, and so will you as we come back Tuesday live on All Four Downs. Thank you for watching, everyone. Take care. Gotta love some football, baby. Oh, yeah.